Hello guys, welcome back again to my channel. My name is Adiolu. So today we're going to be learning how to sew a very trendy Bubu style. So kindly watch, like, share and subscribe and enjoy while you learn. Thank you. So to get started, I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into two and I will start measuring what I need. So the first thing I'll be doing now is to mark my neck measurement, but before that I need to ensure that what I folded is exactly what I need so that I don't waste the remaining Ankara fabric. So my bust measurements divided by 4 plus 2, depending on how free you want it to be. So I'm going to be adding 2 inches to everything, so I'm going to be having like 13.5. So looking at this now, you can tell that this is a lot. So everything depends on the largest part of your body. For me, the largest part for my body is like from on my bust. So if you are saying for somebody that has a big hip, then you'll be dividing their hip measurements divided by 4 plus whichever allowance you wish to add to it. So but this one, I'll be using my bust, since my bust is the highest part of my body. So since the fabric is too much, I'm refolding it to exactly what I need. Now it's like 17, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. So depending on how free you want, like I said, so that's what will determine your allowance and everything. So I'm just gonna leave it like this because this is okay. So the first thing I'll be doing now is to mark my neck width measurement. Neck width measurement I'll be using for this is 3.5. So I'm going to be marking 3.5 here. And then for the neck depth, I'll be using 1 inch. So I'm going to start on this borderline because I wouldn't want my measurement to enter into this design that they've done on the fabric. So I'm going to start my 1 inch from this line here. So that is where I'm going to mark my 1 inch from, and I'm going to connect it to this 3.5 that I have done here. So that is going to be my neck measurement, and that's going to be my neck width measurement. So that's my neck width measurement, but this is the back for the back. So for the front, I'm going to be using 7, depending on how you want it to be, depending on how deep you want. So I'll be using depth 7, right? So I'll be using 7. So, and my shoulder divided by 7 divided by 2, my shoulder divided by 2 is like 8 plus sewing allowance. I'm just going to be using like 8.5 for my shoulder. So I'm going to mark that here. So you can see what I have left is not much. So that's why I said, depending on how full you want it to be, then determine the excess you believe in. That's why I left this fold at 17.5. So depending on how long you want the hand to be. So but as it is, I think it's fine. So from this line, I'm just going to come down by 1 inch. I'm going to mark 1 inch. And I'm going to get my ruler or use your tape measure. I'm going to slant a curve. So that's going to be my shoulder, my sleeve. So this is my shoulder slope. I'm going to measure our sleeve length now. So I'll be using 10. I'll be using 10 inches, everything plus allowance, 10 inches. So I'm going to mark 10 inches here. So on this line now, I'm going to mark my bust, my real bust measurement here. My real bust measurement now divided by 4 plus 2. So that's going to be like 13.5. I'm going to mark 13.5 here. So, and I'm going to connect like so, and then I come down. You can use a ruler to do this, but I don't want to do that. I'm just going to freehand with my hand. I'm going to go down. You can make it a line here, you can make it straight, whichever design you want. But before I continue doing it, I want to mark the length of the gown. So the length of the gown I don't want it to be long. This is like a mini short gown. So I'm going to be marking like 35. So this is like 35. No worries if you can't see it. When I'm done, I'll show you. So I'm marking 35 inches. I'm just connecting it with my tape measure. Yeah. So I've gone ahead to mark the length down there. So I'm just gonna draw my straight design to meet what I need. So remember I said my bust is bigger than my hip, or maybe they are the same. So if you are saying for somebody that has a bigger hip, you need to come to your waist hip line measurement and also measure the person's hip. But if you've added a lot of allowance, it might also cover up for this. You don't need to measure the hip again. So I'm just going to come down like so. Yeah, and this is the back we've cut now. So I'm just going to connect this like this. I'm not going to mark, I'm just going to cut it like so. And then I will refold the fabric and cut for the front. What I did now is for the back. And I'm cutting now. This is the back. So I'm going to fold it aside and refold my Ankara fabric, and so I can cut for the front as well. So I've gone ahead to refold the fabric again into two. So I'm going to get the previous one I cut, and I'm just going to place it on it. So I've gone ahead to place my back on the front. So what I'm just going to do now, if you remember, I already measured my front on this back. So I'm just going to retrace like so. I marked 7, so you can just remark it on it or just put it like so. I'm just going to come in by 1. After marking 7 inches, I come in here by 1. So let's leave that for now. What I'm going to do now is to cut out the front now. So I'm just going to cut out all the things I didn't cut before, like the neck. So I'm going to cut the neck. I'm going to cut out the shoulder. So I'm cutting out the red, cutting everything now. Now I'm done with the back. I'm just going to fold it and keep aside. So we are done cutting that here. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'll be working with this front. So because the design I want to do has another fabric placed at the center front area, I'm just going to mark 1 inch, just like I did here. I'm just going to mark 1 inch all the way down and cut out. But before then, I'm going to create my v-neck and let it join back to this 1 inch I marked here. So you can use a ruler here. I'm just going to use my free hand. Yeah. So I'm going to cut this out now. So from this point now, I'm just going to mark this 1 inch all the way down. I'm going to be marking 1 inch all the way down, cut. Whatever I'm cutting, I'm going to replace it with the fabric you saw earlier on. So I'm just going to cut this out carefully. So I'm done cutting, and this is what we have here. So this is how this looks. So I'm just going to fold this aside and go ahead and show you what I cut out. So what I cut out is exactly like 2 inches, 0.2. So I'm just going to multiply what I have here by 2 and add my sewing allowance and cut it on the other fabric and place it back on it. So guys, I've gone ahead to weave the neck area, the shoulder, the sleeve, the side seams, and the next thing I've done that to the front piece as well. So what I'm going to do is to connect the shoulder to the shoulder, shoulder to shoulder. So I'm going to connect shoulder to shoulder, front to front, connect it like so, and I'm going to sew like this. I'm going to do the same on this side. Take this one as well and sew as well. So I'm going to sew like so. Once I'm done sewing, I'll come back and show you guys. So I'm done joining it. This is shoulder to shoulder. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to fold the hem of the sleeve. So this is the sleeve. I'm going to fold the hem like this. I'm going to do that here, and I'm going to do that on this side as well. Fold the hem like so. So I'm going to do that now. I'll come back. So guys, I'm done folding the sleeve. I've joined the shoulder. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to close the side seam. I'm going to close the side seam like so. I'm going to join and close, but before I close it, I want to put pockets in there. So to put pockets in there, I'm going to take my tape measure, and I'm going to be measuring where I want the pocket to get to. That's my pocket now. So I'm going to be marking 10 inches by 7 inches for the pocket. So my hand can easily go into this, like so. So I'm going to cut this too. I'm going to place it here as well and cut it. This is one for the side, one for the left, one for the right. So I'm cutting the one for the right for the other side now. So now we have two pieces of 10 by 7. So that is wide enough for your pocket. I'm just going to straighten it here. Yeah, so I have my pocket piece. So I'm going to go ahead to show you how to fix it. So to attach my pocket, I'm going to measure 18 inches. I'm going to mark 18 inches. That is where I will start attaching my pocket from. I'm gonna get my pocket like so. I'm gonna attach it on the front on this 18 piece on this 18 inches that I marked. I will place the front to front and I'll sew 0.5 or even lesser than 0.5. I'm just gonna attach like so. Once I'm done doing that, I'm gonna go to the other side and do the same thing. I'm gonna sew front to front on the other side. So once I'm done, I will insert the pocket to the wrong side. So I'm gonna go to my sewing machine now and do that. Okay, so guys, I've gone ahead to sew my pocket on the right side on both sides, right to right. And then after doing that, I'm gonna sew the side seam from here like this. And when I get here, when I get to where the pocket is, I come down by 0.5 inch and I sew this point, right? Then I come to this point as well and I sew, and then I come up by measuring from where I stopped here. I'm going to measure 7 inches. So I come up here by 7 inches and I sew down, and that is it. So I'm sewing the same, come down by 0.5, sew here, sew down, then from that point it came down here, just going to mark 7 inches and then sew to the 7 inches and come down. So that is it for that. So I'm going to go to my sewing machine now and do that. So guys, I've gone ahead to sew in the pocket. This is the pocket and this is how it looks from outside. Just put your hand in it. So this is the pocket. So I'm going to do the same thing I did here. I'm going to do it on this other side now. Fix the pocket on the two sides. I'm going to have to fix this and fix this as well. So the next thing I will be doing now is to give it a good press on this side and the other side. Once I'm done with that, I'll show you what next to do. So the next thing I'm doing now is to mark what I have in front, right, all the way to the other side. So I'm going to be marking this opening that we have from the M to M. So I'm marking all the way to the neck area, back to the front area, down. So whatever I have there, I'll go to I'm going to cut it. So to measure it, I simply just fold my fabric into two and just mark what I have in the middle. Like cut your fabric. We're going to be cutting two pieces of fabrics. Let me put it that way. So we are not cutting one strip of fabric, we are cutting two pieces of fabric. So from this center neckline at the back to the M is 43 inches. So we're going to be cutting two pieces so that we can sew it and join at the neck area. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into 5 inches. So I'll be folding it into 5 inches because I want the whole stuff to be like, I want to cut out 5 inches. So I folded it into two. I folded it into two because I need on the two sides, remember? So I'm going to mark 43 inches now. So I'm marking 43 inches. Once I'm done marking 43 inches, I'm going to cut it out. So I have two pieces now because the fabric is on fold. So I'm going to be cutting like so. This is Ankara, so it's very easy to cut on fold like this. If you are working with a drapery fabric, it's better to use your pins to secure it before you cut it out. Yeah, so I've cut out what I need. I'm going to go ahead to open up my 5 inches. Yeah, so now I have two strips of 43 inches by 5 inches. I have two strips of 43 inches by 5 inches. So what I'm going to go ahead to do now is to iron my interfacing on the wrong side of the fabric. So I'm going to be ironing my interfacing on the wrong side of both strips. So I'm going to iron my interfacing here and here. So once I'm done doing that, I will come guys and show you the next thing to do. I had to iron interfacing on it. So what I'm going to do next is to face these two front to front together. I'm going to go to my machine to sew that part down. So I've gone ahead to sew this place down. So what I'm going to do now is to measure how deep I want my neckline to be. So I'm going to mark 15 inches. That's how deep I want it to be. So depending on how you want your cleavage to show, that's what you mark. So I mark 15 inches and I draw rule across. Can make use of a ruler to make this straight, please. So I'm gonna head to mark like that. So the next thing I'll be doing now is mark the midpoint of these markings. I'm gonna mark the midpoint. I'm gonna use a ruler to connect it so that the line is as straight as it should be. So I'm going to go to my machine now and sew on this line. I've gone ahead to sew it from that 15 inches. I started from here and went all the way down. If you want it to have a slit, you measure from the M where you want it to stop and you stop there. So I'm closing up the down part. So I sewed from that 15 inches from the top line and then I measured um, my half measurement on this line and I came all the way down. So once you are done sewing that, you open up like so, you flip it, you open up like so, and you do that on the other side as well. Then you fold it across the collar like so. So what we are doing is just folding the fabric into two. So the way we folded it now, you go to your, I go to my table and I give it a good press. Once I'm done ironing it, I go to my machine and then I weave these sides like so. I'm gonna weave these sides. So I'm gonna weave all these openings we have here all the way. And then now you see we have a line here. So it is this line I'm going to place on my neck at the back. I'm going to place it on my neck at the back, and that's where I'm going to start from my mid neck at the back. So I'm going to place it on it and start. I'll still show you guys. I'm just explaining it. So guys, I'm done weaving the sides, but I didn't weave these down parts. I'll do that later. but I've weaved every other part. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to take, like I said, the midpoint of the neck at the back. I get the midpoint, which is where I put this pin, or you can always use your chalk, right? Then you take this part that you've sewn the line. That's the main purpose of cutting it in two pieces, so that it will be easy for you to know where to place on your fabric. So I'm going to place it on the right side at the neck point, and I'll start pinning all the way. So I'm going to start pinning all the way, and I'll sew it with my sewing machine. I'm done joining. As you can see, I've joined it, and this is how it looks. So I'm going to wear it now, and you see how it looks. So beautiful, isn't it? But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and hem this part, trim this excess down, and then hem the down part. So guys, I've gone ahead to hem it. I've gone ahead to fix everything that needs to be fixed. So I just go to my iron now and remove this. Aside that, every other thing is done and our dress is ready.